Hi, welcome to the Pursuit of Truth. So I'm going to play you these two bits from Sky News. The reason why I tend to play these clips, sometimes it's to, so that you know what I'm talking about, and sometimes it's as, is it like evidence, I guess, where you hear people in power say things that back up, some of the stuff that maybe I and other people have been going on about. So this first clip, I'm trying to find it, is from Sky News, and what really annoyed me, it was the royals trying to pretend that they're human beings. I found the clip, trying to pretend they're human beings and talking about emotions and this, that and the other, and I was screaming at the TV, so you're going to give away, you're going to sell all your castles, you're going to give all the land back, you're going to take all that money and give it to all of us so that we can all be equal. But that's not what's going to happen. They're going to just cry on television like celebrities who will come and play their music, when they've got billions of pounds. I'm a fan of Sir Paul McCartney, but I know he's got billions of pounds in the bank that he's never going to use, that could be used to save people right now. The problem is we're all been born in this system and we're all a product of it, and until we unconnect ourselves from the system and realise that we can do things a different way, we're just going to keep making the same mistakes. So yeah, here's this clip that really annoyed me, and I'm sure it's going to annoy a lot of you as well. This idea that they're pretending to be compassionate, whereas they have, like I'm compassionate, but I have no power. I don't have money and I don't have influence or power. But here's two people who have influence, power and money. I mean, one day he's probably going to be the king. But will he dissolve his throne? Will he get rid of the royal family, which is not necessary in today's age? Yes, this is of the past. We don't need to keep repeating. We don't need to keep stepping on the same wheel and going round and round doing the same thing. We can make changes. We're the controllers of our own destiny. But we won't do it because, oh well, no, this institution has to stay forever, and we'll keep paying for it. If you truly believe in the compassion of human beings and equality, then how can you be sitting on a throne with hundreds of castles and more land than anyone else while people are dying? Don't talk about people are dying and crying for them if you're not doing anything when you've got control of it.
Due to elect a new leader in September. The Duke of Cambridge has shared his concerns about the intense pressure being faced by emergency workers during the pandemic. Prince William was speaking to counsellors and NHS staff about the mental health support in place for frontline workers when he described his experience working as an air ambulance pilot.
When you see so much death and so much bereavement, it does impact how you see the world. And it's very interesting what you just said then about being able to kind of see things in a different light. That is what really worries me about the frontline staff at the moment, is that there is that, you're so under the cosh at the moment, you're so pressurised, and you're seeing such high levels of sadness, trauma, death, that it impacts your own life and your own family life.
Figures obtained by Sky News have revealed the financial impact on local authorities.
Oh, it's not working now. So there he is. As if COVID-19 is anything different from all the suffering that goes on every single day, that's been going on every single day for hundreds of years. So now people are going to, celebrities and the royals are going to start realising that suffering is going on. And how it affects you. Do something about it then. Do you think that it's right that taxpayers pay for this special family that can be elite and have everything? Yeah, I know people are going on about that. What about the money they bring in? But what about equality? Do you really want equality or not? Or you're just speaking? Because equality means everyone is equal. So everyone has everything at the same level, but not everyone's poor. Everyone is as they should be. Everyone should have access to medicines. Everyone should have access to food, to homing, to everything that they would need, so that everyone can live like a fucking king in their only one life in existence. That's equality. And who's going to give that to everyone? No, let's just keep sitting as we are. Keep counting our money in the bank. Come on, it's just disingenuous. And I don't understand how people don't see past all that. And now, James Coney now, talking about President Trump lying as if he's the only president who's ever lied, or premier that's ever lied. But the interesting thing that I wanted to get from here is how he says, how, because a lot of people say that, oh, wow, a lie, it's not going to, like people say about the lie of the flat earth, or the lie of space, or the missions and whatever, how would it be possible to keep it going and all that kind of stuff. And James Coney says how lies work. And I thought that was really interesting that he admitted that, because a lot of people will think, no, you can't, a lie will always be told out and always be found. I know there's the famous, isn't it, Hitler maxim, if you tell a lie long enough, was it him who said that, or was that some American president? I know there's something that if you tell a lie long enough, then people will believe it. Or I don't think Hitler was, if you make it more absurd, then people will believe it. I don't remember. But yeah, let me just see if I can find the quote from James Coney. I think he was head of FBI, wasn't he?
In your book, which we've got here, you say it's all about restoring the primacy of truth and rebuilding trust in the post-Trump era. So why do you think there is this problem with trust and even truth in politics, and how do you fix it?
Well, the greatest fear of the founders of the United States was that a demagogue would take the presidency and use the power of lies. And lies work. And there are tens of millions of good, ordinary people in the United States who believe lies they've been told about the virus, about the election, about our institutions. They believe it because they've been told these lies over and over and over again by the President of the United States and his echo chambers and his enablers. And so the reason it's important to talk about truth is to try to not accept that and to push back against that and look to find a way to lure those millions of people out of that fog of lies. That's one of the central challenges for this next president. That's why I think we have to talk about it. Donald Trump aimed not just to lie to people, but really to destroy the notion that truth exists, that we can't know things. And we have to reject that and speak about it constantly if we're going to be a healthy country.
It's very difficult, though, isn't it? Because, you say about the importance of reinstating truth in the face of lies. But, in the US, you've got lots of people who think Donald Trump has lied. You've also, of course, got 74 million people who voted for him at the last election, more than voted for him back in 2016. They certainly don't think he's a liar. How do you go about restoring the truth and the trust, as you say, when it's so polarized, people can't even agree on facts?
Well, I think in a couple of ways. First is accidental and tragic. This attack on the United States Capitol, I think, is a needed, and I wish it weren't needed and hadn't happened, but a civics lesson for the American people to get them to lift their eyes a bit above the political scrum that they're normally focused on and focus on the values that connect us and that unite us. And I'm optimistic that that's already happening in the United States. But the mission for the next president, for Joe Biden, has got to be through the demonstration of competent, honest, empathetic leadership to slowly move those people. And I keep saying slowly because you can't shout at people who are trapped in a fog of lies. I've prosecuted cases against fraudsters where the fraudster pleads guilty and his victims still come to his sentencing to speak up for him. Often the very last people to acknowledge a fraud are those who are the victims of it. So it's a slow process, but the next president has to slowly turn them away from that by showing them what leadership really is. Being transparent with them and consistent with them and showing them the empathy that's been so lacking the last 4 years. That's not going to fix America overnight, but that will move literally millions of people out of the fog and get us to a healthier place.
At the very beginning of your first answer, you were saying about the fear of a demagogue taking over. I mean, you probably chose that word quite carefully. Do you feel like Donald Trump's acted like a demagogue?
Oh, he's an absolute the dictionary definition of a demagogue, a populist demagogue, willing to say anything at any moment to try to whip people up to support him. And it's been extraordinary. The press, to its great credit, has tried to keep track of his lies and communicate about them. But lying works. It's the reason a demagogue was the great fear of the designers of the American Republic. Lying works. And we can't ever kid ourselves that it's ineffective. It's effective. And that's why all of us have to fight back against it.
You mentioned the scenes that we've all seen, of course, of those people.
Interesting now, the former head of the FBI admits to lying works. Now, we all know Donald Trump didn't invent lying, and we all know that every human being lies. I mean, it is interesting how, obviously he was fired by Trump. I'm not a Trump supporter. I think a lot of the things that he said has been, well, it hasn't helped in unity. So, but obviously I've heard some of the hearings, and that wasn't Trump, that was other people, and I can see their concerns. You know, people counting votes when maybe they weren't following proper procedures, lawful procedures that would make them count. There's been talk of, and I mean, I don't know whether these are confirmed things or not. I mean, just because a hearing has concluded that these aren't acceptable doesn't actually necessarily mean it's not true. We know in many cases, you know, like with Primados, with lots of things where at first they were told that no, this isn't acceptable. There's many criminals that have got off of all sorts of things, then to be found guilty. So just because there's a hearing and they just, you know, because if people in power want a certain thing to happen, then they put their people who are already in power, and they can just say, well, I've heard your complaint, but I don't acknowledge them as being valid. But of course they could be lying. And that's like the crux of why I always come back to this whole problem with the world that we live in, is the fact that we're able to lie, and convincingly. But you see, the former head of the FBI talks about this, how important lying is and how it works. But of course, as he knows, as a former head of FBI, I'm sure he's lied, and I'm sure he's covered things up. And let's not pretend that Donald Trump is the first president to lie. I mean, there's been all sorts of scandals and lies that have been in power. You know, you've got George W. Bush, who lied about the weapons of mass destruction. I mean, there's countless little lies. Politicians have to lie, or, well, they don't have to lie, but they choose to lie, because they can't admit certain things. So let's not pretend that, oh, Donald is the only liar. No, they've all been doing it. I mean, at least Donald didn't start any new wars. He may have continued some of his predecessors, but he didn't start any new ones, and I think that's a worse crime, you know. Okay, if Donald said some very racist things, some misogynist things, yeah, but is it worse than sending troops to go and kill other human beings for oil or for land or for power or for pretending or the fake democracy? Because that's the lie that James Comey's telling everyone, all the Americans and the world who are listening to him, is this idea that if then Joe Biden takes over and truth is restored, and then what? Then what? Well, the great lie is you're being taught that you only have one system that you can live within, that you have to live with a government, that you have to live by being told what you can do, having to have a job, having to earn money, having to do all these things in order to survive. That's the greatest lie. We don't have to live like that. We could live in free abundance because we have everything that we possibly need, and we have ourselves to be able to engineer that, to be able to live in a world where we don't need money, where we do things because we want to do things, because we want to help each other out. That would alleviate so many things like crime and poverty, disproportionate lives. Imagine you could travel anywhere in this world that you've been given. You don't need a passport. that you don't need to be counted and signing forms and certificates, that you're free to do everything that you want to do, that you can help each other. So that's the ironic thing, that he's talking about truth and lies, where he wants people to just, follow Joe Biden and then just carry on their daily lives, make money, keep the economy going, whilst people suffer around the world, while people in his own country suffer of inequality, of the black and Hispanic people who are suffering in that country, in the Bronx, the people who are suffering because they can't get work, because they have to earn money to get food, to survive, because that's the way of life. But that's a lie. We don't need money to live. Money comes off trees, fucking trees, and we've given it a value that's greater than ourselves. We could support every one of us, because say imagine we all, the earth got destroyed, yeah, and a few of us managed to get on a spaceship and travel to another habitable planet, and we lived on it and we rebuilt again. Would we start saying, oh well, no, you can't, I can't pick those cabbages for you because I need money? Or, oh no, you can't live on that piece of land because you haven't paid for it, you'll have to give me a loan. Would we do that? No, we wouldn't. We'd all be working together like they do in the International Space Station, assuming it exists. That's what we do. We work together. We forget about all these petty, stupid laws and rules that we've created here that keep those in power and those in the rest of us under their leashes. We shackle ourselves by voting, by keeping this system alive. That's the greatest lie. But he won't tell you that, will he? Of course not. But it's true. Everyone listen to this. If the earth got destroyed and we left on a spaceship and we went somewhere else, we wouldn't live in the same rules that we do now. We might get to them again, because that would be what would happen, isn't it? Once there's too many people, hundreds, thousands of people, then they'll be starting, well, how do we have law and order? How do we make sure that this, that and the other happens? How do we make money? How do we not have to do something while someone else does something? I'll sit and own a company and watch thousands of people making me money. How sick is that idea? That you will sweat, your blood, sweat and toil and tears, while someone sits doing fuck all. That's the world that we live in. That's the lie. I don't see James Coney talking about that. But it's true. That's we've seen many science fiction films that show that. Many utopian or dystopian things that have shown all these things. We all know it, but we just think it's too difficult to get to. Well, it will be if no one does anything about it. Anyway, take care, take it easy, God bless and peace.